Holla, what's up?
What's up, Anthony Hamilton, my celebrity life, Ge Holla.
Shout out to Ge Holla, reaching 1 million listeners on his podcast, My Celebrity Life, resetting the bar.
What's up, Ge Holla? This your boy, Genuine. Shout out to you.
Y'all, this is Master P, and shout out to Ge Holla of My Celebrity Life, the show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, man. We always find some of the coolest and some of the smoothest people that there is. This time, man, we found a great young man on his journey, and he let us tap in with him and link up and build upon this great interview. You're going to get some background information in the story, especially for the youth out there, for the brothers out there that may be kind of lost, caught up in the whirlwind, as Tupac used to say. You need a good guidance of brothers who have been through the storm, and they have weathered it, and they still standing tall, all 10 toes down. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the court. You'll never meet nobody cool as smooth as this ever again. Big Court. What's happening with you, man? What's going on?
Hey, what's going on with you, homie? I appreciate you.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man, for tapping in with me, man. You're cool, smooth,
hey,
man.
Hey, man, that was a smooth ass intro. I don't think I heard the intro like that in a minute. That was smooth. Man, that's a great question. I never been asked that, man. Shout out to you. Coming up in the Midwest, excuse me. I grew up in a precocious only child. My family wasn't super big. But to your point, yeah, man, I was raised by strong women, to be very honest with you. I was raised by educated women. I was the first grandchild, and I was an only child, so I was doted on. I was spoiled. They treated me like a little prince, to be very honest with you. So that mixed in with me being a Leo, so you already know what that's going to be a recipe for, right? So, but yeah, growing up in KC, man, I wouldn't change it for the world. Growing up in the Midwest, of course, I still maintain my Midwest sensibilities. When I encounter older people, elderly people, I say yes, sir. Yeah, no, no, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you. It's kind of that Midwestern hospitality, and the Midwest value. But yeah, coming up in KC was good, man. I had a beautiful childhood. Even though I grew up in the hood, I had a beautiful childhood. My household was filled with love, support. And it's not lost on me that many other kids maybe didn't have that. They didn't have that foundational support and rearing that I had. But yeah, my family was great. My family was a big part of who I have become and the choices I've made. Even when I went wayward, you always find yourself back, like the prodigal son, you find yourself back to what you were taught. So yeah, my lineage is great, bro. And of course, there's a lot of Indian as well. My great grandmother was full-blooded Indian. So yeah, exactly.
We was here running this land, and yeah. The Iroquois tribe, the Iroquois tribe, they actually gave the so-called founding fathers the idea on how to build a constitution and set up government.
Wow. Okay. Hey, that's knowledge to me. Hey, you seem well versed in that. That's dope. Social engineering that this country has done to us is crazy. And I think when you're able to recognize it, I recognize it in myself. That's part of the evolution, is to be able to unfuck your mind. You know what I mean? You have to be, because you have to question the things that we're taught, even in our culture. It's funny that you're saying that, because one of the interviews I just had on my podcast was the Jackson County prosecutor of Kansas City. She's the youngest female prosecutor in history. And so she was saying the same thing. She was like, sure, we do have to, deal with systemic issues, you know what I mean? But then there are some in-house things that we have to have a difficult conversation about too. And of course, some of them are, they stem from, generations and generations of trauma and what the country has done. But now that we know better, we have to be able to call it out. We have to be able to say, okay, because I had to do the same thing within myself, even dealing with our own. It's that Willie Lynch thing. You're taught that mistrust, that light skin against dark skin, old against young. It's this thing that we have. And I identified it in myself years ago, where I had to say, that's funny. I don't even know him like that. Why am I automatically had that thing? And I'm, And so, I think sometimes just the self-checking is very important. That's part of doing the work, is making the necessary changes as well.
And I appreciate that, man. You're a very astute brother, I could tell too as well. You know what I'm saying? Your depth goes beyond, the music and the fame and the entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
We could tell that you was born to be a leader. All your life, I bet you felt this sense of this pulling, no matter what you did, right or wrong, in people's eyes, that one day you was going to be some type of shining light, or that you were set apart differently from other people, not in a strange, weird way, but in a way that something inside of you is pulling you towards this great destiny. Have you always felt that way?
Yeah. I did. I did. And that was very much my mother. Again, I'm an only child. So my mother was very doting, but she always used to tell me, you can do anything you want to do. She put that in me as a little kid, like, whatever you want to do, you can do. If I told her I want to be president, she was like, oh, okay, what's the next step? You got to go, you can do it. You just got to be willing to walk the path and do the work. So, excuse me, even like I said, in my wayward days, I always tell people, I was never a born to lose type dude. Like, even in my wayward days and my lost days, in the back of my mind, I always knew it was something more for me. So it was like, this is what I'm doing now. I'm not 100% committed to it, but this is what I'm doing now. But I know in the back of my mind, okay, this is not my ending point. This is not at least I hope that this would not be my ending point. So, yeah. Because I was always a dreamer too. I always say, man, everybody has sight, but not everybody has vision. Vision is being able to see things and hit targets that everybody else can't see. So, amongst my peers, I was always a dreamer. I was always the outlier in terms of what I was into, what I like to do. I always, walked to the beat of my own drum. I didn't care about what the crowd was doing. I was almost like a popular loner. You know what I mean? I was popular because I played sports, but at the same time, being an only child, I'm okay with my own company. But yeah, I did always feel like there was something bigger for me. Absolutely. And you have to believe that too. And you have to act on that. That's the thing about it. Me starting in entertainment, 30 plus years ago, I remember someone telling me, you never know where the game is going to take you. When you look at you look at L.A. Reid and Babyface, they were, L.A. Reid was a singer and then went to being this executive. You just never know where the game will take you. So I always knew that it was something bigger. But if you had told me, 30 years ago, it'd be like, man, you're going to be a network owner, I would have been like, man, you lying, Yeah, I told this story on another platform. I tell people all the time, my media journey started. It's funny. It started in high school. It was my senior English teacher that actually, he identified that. He said, "Hey, listen, you speak very eloquent. You have a knack for that." And at that time, I wasn't in a position to hear that because I'm knee deep in thugging, right? I got a high top fade. I got on the gang uniform. I think I'm that, right? I'm really just following the destructive culture. But he was like, man, you should consider public speaking. He said, you speak really well. And it wasn't until years ago that it was like, oh, wow, as I'm speaking in front of people, I'm like, hey, Mr. Connor did say this many years ago. So, I think it's important. A lot of times people ask me, they say, hey, man, how do you know what your calling is? How do you know what you're supposed to do? And what I tend to say is it's that thing that comes easy to you that's harder for everyone else. And you kind of lean into that and foster that. And hopefully you enjoy that. And so, in my journey, it's been different versions of what I'm doing now, rather it was me being an artist. I was always very, creative. I used to write my mother poems, and then that transitioned into the written expression of rap, then getting into, acting and different things like that. So it's still all in the same vein of being a creative, which is what I was coming out the womb, so.